As many of you know, the March Madness tournament is right around the corner, and many storylines have come as a result. One of these storylines is the possibility of a team expansion and what obstacles the NCAA needs to overcome to make it happen. Our group has researched that possibility and how it will affect the annual tournament. We did our research on 2 articles that cover the topic. The first article is titled March Madness Expansion Could Center on Championship Control by Brian Fisher, a staff writer for Sports Illustrated. The article was published in January of this year and explains the likelihood of an expansion and what must be done to achieve it. It also includes key factors such as streaming rights deals and financial issues as a concern for the expansion. The second article is titled NCAA Tournament Expansion, March Madness Decision Nears as Administrators Debate 76-Team Bracket by Carter Bonds, a writer for 247 Sports. The article was published in February of this year and explains the format for an expansion. This would increase the number of teams from 68 to 72 or 76. Furthermore, the article debates the difference between a 76-team tournament and a 72-team tournament, and sides with the 76-team tournament. Now I'm going to hand it over to Andy, and he's going to discuss the first article.
With the way of college athletics is right now, nobody knows what is going to happen. This article by Sports Illustrated talks about the way the format of March Madness might move and the factors that could come because of this. With 68 teams in the tournament each year, there are teams each year that are the favorites in the Blue Bloods that are expected to make a deep run in the tournament. But also each year, there are Cinderella teams or teams that people have never even heard about. This is what makes March Madness fun. Over the last couple of years, there has been nonstop talks about expanding the tournament. NCAA Vice President of Basketball Dan Gavitt stated, "We've certainly been looking at it for a long time. We continue to work on it with the basketball committees. There's good reasons to consider it. The growth of Division I, which we know has been like 30% over the last 40 years. Like he mentioned, yes, more teams are transitioning from D2 or D3 levels to the D1 level. But expanding the tournament would almost seem to eliminate the smaller teams and the teams that can't financially fight with the Power 4 teams. Everybody knows how hard it is to win conference games, and in this article it talks about how if the tournament does expand, the Power Conference teams will just have authority over the smaller teams, leading to more Power Conference teams to get in. Another main point of this article is that it talks about how expanding the tournament would challenge the media deals and TV partnerships. The NCAA currently has a long-time media rights deal with CBS and Turner Sports to broadcast the men's basketball tournament through 2032 and is worth millions of dollars. Expanding the tournament would challenge the partnerships, and they would even have to change the schedule of when the games are played. It states in this article how the vast majority of NCAA money comes from their partnerships. Most of those dollars flow through their national office back to the schools in the form of giving money back to the teams that have won and made farther progress than the other teams in the tournament. Even though people think that adding more teams would increase the revenue, it does not. In this article, it states if the NCAA expands this tournament, there would be no additional media rights revenue from CBS or Turner Sports. More games would not equal more money based on the way the current contract is worded. Overall, with the idea of tournament expansion in the state the NCAA is in right now, this article clearly helps with the comments from Charlie Baker and Dan Gavitt about the possibilities of expanding the tournament. In this article, the tone seems to be against the possibility of expanding the tournament. The author, Brian Fisher, always finds a way to back up the way the tournament is right now. It is nice to hear his side of the way he thinks that the tournament should be run, but it does not offer any pros about expanding the tournament. If I was to cover this topic, I would try to add and talk about what fans think about the expansion of this tournament. This would allow for the article to be more diverse.
The 247 article covers potential March Madness expansion as there's an ongoing debate amongst school athletic directors and NCAA administrators regarding the tournament size. March Madness decision makers are currently in discussion of broadening the playing field from the 68-team tournament format that we've been familiar with since 2011 to a 76-team tournament in as early as 2026. Amid all the conference realignment that's been going on, it's becoming more and more difficult for big branded schools to have the same continued successes in conference play, as they become more difficult and competitive. This is causing teams that normally would have made tournaments in previous years to miss out on March Madness tournament entirely. Increasing the field by 8 teams would be the biggest jump in tournament size since 1985, and the move would be historic, as ESPN's Pete Thamel had said. The article also covers the media partners that would be benefiting from an expanded tournament, as they would be able to broadcast more games on national television and have more opportunities to generate revenue through sponsorships, advertisements, and other profitable ideas they could have from the tournament's expansion. The final thing the article addressed was the overall unpopularity of a tournament expansion, talking about the number of college basketball fans and media personalities who have been outspoken against the expansion of the NCAA tournament and expressing their opposition towards an expanded, larger tournament bracket. Unfortunately, the decision is not up to the fans and those specific media personalities, as the decision rests with the NCAA president, Charlie Baker, and other NCAA administrators who would need to pool together financial resources to make the expansion happen. The final comment from the article was saying if the NCAA tournament expands to 76 teams in the men's bracket, they would also need to do it for the women's bracket as well, meaning that the financial resources that they allocate for the men's tournament would have to be doubled just to continue the same pattern for the female tournament as well.
But the tone of this 247 article is very informative as it presents facts and details about potential NCAA tournament expansion, including the number of teams being considered, the timeline for a decision, and potential impact of expansion. There is much debate on whether to expand the NCAA tournament. I think it is very important to understand both sides of the debate. The article, I noticed, avoids taking a stance on either side. It presents both potential benefits and drawbacks without taking a definitive stance. So I wanted to talk a little more about both sides of the argument. In the case of expansion, many people mention a larger field would open the door to more teams, particularly from smaller conferences, to experience the thrill of March Madness. This would create more opportunities for Cinderella runs and great storylines. Another argument for expansion is more games, meaning more broadcast rights, more ticket sales, and more merchandise. Expansion could be a significant financial hit for the NCAA. On the other side of this argument, people that argue against expansion argue that expanding the tournament would inevitably water down the talent pool. Adding more teams, especially those from smaller conferences, could lead to more lopsided games and decrease the overall level of competition. Many also believe expanding the tournament could decrease the importance of the regular season. If more teams are likely to make the tournament, the pressure to perform in the regular season might lessen, reducing the stakes of the regular season games. The argument this year that the bubble is very weak, meaning that there is a big gap between as many teams on the fringe of the NCAA tournament lack high-quality wins against top-tier opponents. The lowest seed to ever win the NCAA tournament was an 8 seed, raising questions whether we as fans should want more teams below that 8 seed threshold. The debate surrounding the NCAA tournament expansion is complex and multifaceted, with valid arguments on both sides. Ultimately, the NCAA's decision will have significant implications on the future of college basketball, impacting everything from team opportunities and revenue to the essence of March Madness. Whether the tournament expands or remains the same, the decision will undoubtedly shape the landscape of the sport for years to come.
Additionally, a third article has been researched.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Young. The article I chose today to discuss March Madness was through CBS Sports. In the article, they discussed expanding the tournament from 68 to a 76-man bracket. This expansion would mean more opportunities for teams on the bubble to create opportunities and expand their legacies and create revenue as well. Adding 8 more teams can be very important. On average, it takes around 200 to 300 staff members to host an NCAA event. Adding 8 more teams would create over 1,000 more job opportunities to the market. Given more job opportunities gives NCAA the chance to bring in millions of dollars more in revenue. Last year, per NCAA, they claimed to make over $130 million in revenue from just ticket sales and concession. Adding 8 more games also brings in more opportunities to sell concession money. If you're anyone like myself, you don't pay attention to much college basketball until March Madness comes. The thrill of filling out brackets and watching underdogs beat top teams creates a great environment for fans to watch. So I feel like adding more games creates more thrill and it expands the brackets. Adding more games also increases the viewership for televised games as well as games in person. Paying for subscriptions such as ESPN Plus or paying for general admission to these games bring in revenue not only to places like ESPN but to NCAA as well. Most people didn't hear of the school Loyola until they made their run in the tournament in 2018. So expanding it to 8 more schools gives smaller schools like Loyola to create an opportunity to make a run in a tournament and create a name for their school so they can market themselves better in the future. Bringing recognition to these smaller schools